back to my channel. I'm going to be talking about 5 power ups you can do to manage your cards in Trello. And we're back with my Trello board here that has stuff to do. If you remember in the last video, I didn't add the this week list. So that's an addition, but we still have our typical to do, doing, done, as well as awaiting response, delegated. Like I said in previous videos, I love to just brain dump and then label everything and then move it to this week, and then on the day of I move it to. But we're not here to talk about how I work. We're here to talk about some cool power ups that I think will help you manage your cards easier. I'm just going to talk about 5. So, first of all, when we talk about power ups are just additions that you can add in Trello to make your life easier. For instance, your team needs to be kept up to date on what either they have to do or you have to do or where we are in the progress. With power ups, you can create dashboards, you can add images, you can integrate other systems. There's a ton that you can do with Trello, and a lot of this, again, is still free, which is why Trello is one of my favorite platforms for task management. So let's get into the first one. A viewer requested that I talk more about card aging. And basically, what card aging is the ability to have cards that have not been added, that have not been touched in a while, 1, 2, or 4 weeks, then they start to fade. And what this does is it gives you the ability to see what hasn't been looked at. As you can see on this left side in the done, all the things that I've just updated and moved are still active and in their regular and have their regular look, while some of these older to-dos are grayed out, and that's because they haven't been touched. Another power up that we can add is time and list. So if we go back to power ups and search for time and list, this is an add-on by Blue Cat that will let you know how long a card has been in a list. And this is also good for managing cards that you haven't looked at in a while. And this one is not free, but as it's refreshing, we will be able to see how long a card has been in the list. And you can see here, this card has been on the list for 2 months. Don't judge me. Another power up that is good for managing cards is Google Drive. And a lot of people use Google Drive, and with the integration for Google Drive, you have the ability to import attachments into your cards. I mean, this is generally, how we sync attachments and how you can have a single source of truth all in one place. And so with Google Drive, you simply connect your Google Drive to it, and then you can attach documents. So I have those settings already. I did this previously before I recorded this video. So basically, let's say I need to draft a refund policy, right? If I go into Google Drive and I say attach a file, then it brings up my Google Drive that's attached to the email, and then I can just import a file. So let's just say, we're talking about that, and then now when you open this, you have your labels, time and list, and you have your attachments that you can add. So this is a pretty powerful power up that will allow you to do a lot of things with Trello, especially like say for instance, for example, if you have a team of writers, you run a website and you have a team of writers, they can just attach their article to the card that they are assigned to. And then that way you can also set up alerts so that when it's moved to a certain list or it's checked as done, then you will get a notification to move to another step. There's also an approvals power up. That'll be part of a different video when we talk about approvals. So the next power up that I want to talk about is card repeater. And this is native, so you won't be charged with this. But what it allows you to do is if you have a recurring card, then it will just pop back up every week. As an example, if you do maintenance on your website once a month, once a week, every Monday, every Wednesday, whatever have you, you could set up card repeater to create that recurring card every month. And so how it works is if you go back to, we're going back to my build a product roadmap that's 2 months old. Um, if we go back to repeat, if we click repeat, then we can set the parameters on which we want to have this card pop back on our to-do list. And you could also put in, if you needed to, change it from to-do to any other list that you want it to show up in. So the last power up that I want to talk about before we get into some other automations that's not necessarily a power up, but is definitely a cool hack for cards. Bulk actions is a power up that lets you, as the title says, do things in bulk. From this power up, it just gives you a checkbox to allow you to move multiple cards at the same time. You have the ability here to take all of your cards and archive them. There are multiple ways to do that, but I think this is a really cool, low friction way. While we're talking about archiving, one of the cool things that I think is something that you should do when you're thinking about managing your cards is to set up automations. And one of the automations that we can set up is to auto archive. If we click the automation button, it'll show all of these automations on the side. To do the auto archive, you would go to calendar and do schedule commands. And what we're going to do here is create a command that will allow for every month. We'll say every month, but you can set this to every week, every Monday, every quarter. You can just archive all of the cards in a certain list. And so what I'm going to do is every month on the first, right, is going to be my trigger. And then we will archive all of the cards in the done, and that will be our action. And then you just save this and it creates it and it'll archive all the cards in your list. And you can do this with several different lists or boards or basically anything. If you look here, there's another schedule command that says every Monday at 9:39, create a report with all the cards due in less than 7 days and send an email to me. And that's another command that is easy to set up. And that just kind of starts your week off right. Even though if you use Trello, you tend to kind of end up in Trello before you even check your email. So if you don't want to clutter up your email, you could also do this with Slack. And I didn't talk about Slack in this video, but it requires you just to add a power up. And it'll give you the same ability to send a Slack message. This is great for teams.